I'm Greg Rasmussen. I'm the superintendent. It's a pleasure to be here. I started in Middletown just about a year ago at this time, and this was one of the very first events that I had the pleasure to attend, and what a special event it is. For those of you who have been here before, you know how special it is. For you first-timers, you're in for a treat tonight. This is a really special time for the students and for the educators that we're here to recognize. Before we start, though, this evening, I'd like to recognize we do have a couple school board members here this evening. I'd like to recognize them. John Sauter is parent and school board member. John, would you please stand up? And I saw Marcia Andrew. Marcia is here somewhere. Marcia. And you know, since they're my bosses, I really hate to miss anybody that might be out there, but I think that's everyone. Is Katie McNeil here by chance? I thought maybe she was going to be. Okay. I know that the others are not. So we'll go on from there. May 2nd through 6th is Teacher Appreciation Week, which is just around the corner. And this time of the year is kind of a prelude to that. I think that, again, this is a special evening for educators to reflect a little bit on the difference that they make. This scholarship banquet was started by a superintendent named Les Johnson, who I'm sure many of you know, about 15 years ago. So this is the 15th time for this, again, which is a special time. I don't know if there are any of the educators that are here who have had the opportunity or privilege of being here before and be recognized, but if there are any repeat offenders, that's not a very good, repeat honorees, maybe we'll say, congratulations again. A special thank you to our food service staff, Vicki, Cindy, and our food service staff. Are they out here somewhere? Are they probably back preparing things, so I don't see them there. Principals, would all the principals please stand up? Principals that are here with us, would you stand up? No, stay standing, just a minute, stay standing. You know, we are here to recognize some of the teachers, I know, but what a difference the principals make in the schools. And often you're the first ones that get to hear all the problems and the last ones to get told thank you for all you do. So we do appreciate you. And again, thank you for all you do. Appreciate that. A special recognition to our Middletown High School counseling staff. Would they please stand up as I'm involved with this? Thank you very much. And then, of course, to our PTOs, what a parent. We had the opportunity last night at the school board meeting to recognize many volunteers in our school district, and a long list of people were recognized. But what a difference PTO and the involvement of parents make in the lives of our students. And I said it last night, and I think it's so important, but a strong school needs a strong community. And a strong community needs a strong school. You cannot separate those two things. We need each other, and we need each other to grow. We need to challenge each other, and we need to all continue to improve together and to support each other. But thank you, PTOs, for your support of this event tonight. Let's give the PTOs a round of applause. And then 4 ladies and 1 special lady is back here that I'd like to introduce. Shelley and Mary Rose and Gracie, would you please kind of come forward for coordinating and helping with this just a little bit, and wave and thank you for doing that. And then I'd like to have Carol Melton come slip around here where everybody could see her. I think you all know Carol, but she worked for me for about 3 months and taught me everything I needed to know, and then she retired on me. But Carol was a superintendent secretary for how many years? 20? 30 years, and she finally found one that she just couldn't do anything with, so she quit. But Carol's back to help. This has always been a special event for her, and Carol's back to help. So Carol, thank you for your coming back and volunteering.
The first school that's going to be represented and honored is Middletown High School, and I would like to introduce Dr. Kenneth McDowell, who's here for the principals from the high school.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Good evening, everyone. It's my privilege to introduce the scholarship recipients from Middletown High School. First will be Gabriel Ann Brewster, who will be honoring Mrs. Jenny Webb. Gabriel is going to attend Miami University of Middletown, and he plans to study business management. Gabriel?
Okay. I'd like to tell you about Mrs. Webb from Middletown High School and how she has positively influenced my life. At the beginning of my junior year, I attended Bishop Fenwick High School. Then late in the first quarter, I transferred to Middletown. And naturally, I was concerned just with the transfer from a parochial school to a public school. And I was immediately put into honors classes, which was just another worry. And naturally, I was concerned about all this. Mrs. Webb was the first honors teacher that I had that year. And like other teachers, she took the time to catch me up on what the class was doing and everything like that, but she really went a little deeper into it. She truly explained the class and how she functioned, and instead of just handing me a syllabus saying read it and then going on with her studies. She gave me any papers I needed, any books that I would need, and basically just didn't give me the crash course. It was more of an in-depth to study. Let's see here. The stories that I heard about the high school really add just another concern, and as most of you have heard, I'm sure some were more lively than others. In teachers, I also heard that they didn't help, they were uncaring, but as soon as I got here, I realized that that wasn't the case, and it certainly was not the case in Mrs. Webb's class. If I ever needed help or if I was ever doing poorly, she took the time to sit me down and help me or get me straight. Being an honors class, it sometimes was a little lower than I had anticipated. Let's see. And like I said before, some of the teachers I had heard that they didn't help you. Mrs. Webb really showed me that they do help you, and not to say that other teachers didn't, they did. But just being an honors class, I thought, well, they might think of you as an adult. You need to learn yourself. She really did teach me that being in an honors class while being serious can also be a fun and enjoyable time to spend your school life. And while there was quite a bit of work, it also helped along the way. To conclude this essay, I would like to thank Mrs. Webb for not only being a great teacher, but a great friend, but for also helping me through both my junior and senior years and anything I needed. Walking through the hallway almost every day, she asks how I'm doing, what I'm doing. She's very concerned, and I'd like to thank her.
Well, I have to say a couple words to that, and it's an honor to be here. It makes everything worthwhile to know that students appreciate the help you're giving. When it's a wonderful young man like Gabe, it's not hard to want to help, and he's come a long ways, and I'm very proud of him. Thank you.
The next student from Middletown High School is Oscar Allen Hernandez Ramirez. He will be honoring Mrs. Jacqueline Windsor. Allen will be attending the highly selective Pomona College in Southern California, where he will major in chemistry. His ultimate plan is to attend medical school and become a pediatrician.
I would like to tell you about Miss Jacqueline Winsler from Middletown High School. Mrs. Winsler was my honors chemistry teacher during my sophomore year, and not only has been a great teacher, but also a great mentor. Mrs. Winsler is passionate about her field. Whenever she explained the elements or chemical theories, she wanted us to learn and appreciate them as much as she did. As a result, she spent much time making sure everyone in the class understood. Her willingness to help made me even consider becoming a chemistry teacher, as I found myself entranced in how wonderful the molecular world was. My mother's side of the family consists of bakers and cooks, so it is no surprise that I love to bake and cook. However, finding out why bread rises or why vinaigrette needs honey to help it stay intact is just as fascinating as eating the product. Also, on a personal note, when I told her about my diverse background, she shared with me that her mother is from Panama, so we are both Hispanic, which inspired me even more when I look at all she has achieved. Miss Winsler encouraged me to take AP Chemistry, which I loved. Her support, even to this day, has inspired me to study chemistry in college and allowed me to develop a great love for this subject. In fact, whenever I need help in chemistry, I go to her. For example, when I had questions from AP Chemistry, I would ask her about a problem I could not solve. She would spend time trying to solve it for me and then explain what I needed to do. Finally, this year she has talked to me about her experience in college as a chemistry major. Her accounts have assured me that I will continue my studies in chemistry, not only because it would make a great basis for my future studies in medicine, but also because I have a deep love for chemistry that has greatly expanded due to the influence of Mrs. Winsler.
Hi. I would like to say a couple of things about Alan. He was my only sophomore in honors class a couple of years ago, and he was the top student in the class. It speaks to his work ethic. He was just wonderful in class. What I particularly love about Alan is when I look at how his peers look up to him. He is admired by so many of his peers for all the right reasons. His heart is gold, and he's going to go far in life. So, Alan, thank you very much, and I think Middletown High should be very proud to have Alan as one of our alum coming up.
The next recipient from Middletown High School will be Marjorie Reinhardt. She will be honoring Mr. Brian Campbell. Marjorie will be attending Miami University also. She plans to major in dietetics. Marjorie Reinhardt.
And pardon me, I just want to make sure that you all can hear the students. Can you hear back there? Okay, great.
I would like to take this time to tell you about my former science teacher, Mr. Campbell, from Middletown High School, and how he has positively influenced my life and my educational career. I had Mr. Campbell as a teacher my freshman year at Middletown High. He has been and will continue to be one of the most memorable influences in my life. He taught me, as most teachers are paid to do, but he was different than most teachers. Mr. Campbell brought such an enthusiasm to science that it was contagious. You couldn't help but become interested in whatever he had to say. Science is a hard concept for students to grasp, but Mr. Campbell went out of his way to help everyone understand. He made the most of every second we spent in his classroom, and through his creative use of lectures, guided notes, and other materials, I believe that this year I spent in his classroom, I learned more than in this subject than I have in 1 year at any other class to this date. Students can tell when most teachers are having a bad day and in their personal lives, but never Mr. Campbell. He brought the same elevated level of enthusiasm and interest to science every single day. I believe that this is also a life lesson that I have learned from being a student in his classroom. You do what you love, and you do it to the best of your capabilities every day, and never let anyone or anything bring you down or hinder your passion for your occupation. I aspire to have the same mindset about my own career. Mr. Campbell has left a positive impression on me, not only as a student, but as a person and a future career woman.
I was fortunate enough to have Maggie, and I've also fortunate enough to have her brother Stephen as students, and I see a lot of familiar faces out here and stuff. And the one thing that's kind of, I guess, a commonality about all these kids is I think they all come from great parents and great families. So you all should be, congratulated as well. Thank you.
The last recipient is Zach Pruitt. He will be honoring Mr. Scott Cauliflower. Zach is going to attend Miami University in Oxford as well. He has several plans, including a major in acting and performance, as well as a minor in psychology. Zach Pruitt.
Ever since about the 8th grade, I've been interested in the study of abnormal psychology and how it affected the human mind. In middle school, it was hard to continue building on this fascination because the subject was only moderately discussed in health classes and the like. So as I drifted off into high school, my interest waned to a low point, and I continued to concentrate on my primary focus, which was acting, performing, singing, dancing. It wasn't until about my junior year of schooling when I was informed that Middletown High School had a social psychology class that connected with the other course, social justice, both of which were taught by Scott Cauliflower. I leapt at the chance to continue my previously hindered studies to fill in the gap that 2 years had left within my mind. I had already briefly met Mr. Cauliflower from my active involvement in student government, specifically in the activities involving the homecoming dance. He seemed like a funny, intelligent, and kind man who sincerely cared about the students' opinions. Those characteristics were no different in the classroom setting either. While teaching me and my classmates and I the very essential ideas and views on all types of psychology, he made sure the entire class was always on the same page and following along. Regardless of the time it took, it seemed as if every student to him was of primary focus, a goal he would always seek to accomplish and never give up on. His extremely dynamic, energetic, and overall amazing teaching style continuously enthralled me and nurtured my interest to the point where I'm now considering earning a minor in psychology to further expand my interest in the abnormal psyche. I am very proud and honored to say that Scott Cauliflower has, and always will be, an extremely positive influence in my life. Thank you. There's a Spider-Man bag for him because he's always going to be my hero.
I'd just like to say I'm very honored to receive this award. I wasn't quite sure what to expect, and here I am. Zach is one of those rare students that you get with very energetic in class and always on the ball, and he was a pleasure to have in class. But I'd like to echo my person I work with, Brian Campbell, sorry, I'm a little nervous up here, and say that, the congratulations really goes out to the parents here and the families who are very supportive of these young people. So thank you very much again.
Thank you, Dr. McDowell and the high school. The next school that will be represented is Central Academy, and I would like to welcome Mrs. Ruth Munchenbeck and Jarrell Brown. Thank you.
Dr. Suter's not here tonight. Her husband fell last weekend and he is recovering well, but she's still a little worried about why he fell, and they're not sure what happened with him. So she decided she couldn't leave him in the evening. So I'm here to introduce Jarrell. He is an amazing young man. I have never met a person who didn't love him and wasn't just enthralled by that beautiful smile. He's just an amazing person. And I want to make sure that everyone knows he's going to attend Athens University. No, he's going to Athens to attend Ohio University. He's going to major in public relations and psychology and minor in vocal performance. If you've ever heard him sing, he is amazing. And it's been such a pleasure, and I'm so honored to be here with him.
I would like to tell you about Miss Munchenback from Central Academy and how she positively influenced my life. I went to Miss Munchenback's class my 6th grade year after a really difficult and hard 5th grade year. My 5th grade teacher and I had issues with each other, and as a result, I was acting out and not taking my work seriously. During the summer between my 5th and 6th grade year, my principal, Dr. Suter, called my house and spoke with my mom about switching me into Miss Munchenback's class. I was very upset because I was getting away with a lot in my 5th grade teacher's class. And I had heard that Miss Munchenback was really strict, so naturally I was hesitant to go to her class. Once school started that fall, I quickly learned that the things I was getting away with in the 5th grade were not going to fly in Miss Munchenback's class. I automatically thought she was mean and way too hard on all of her students. As the year progressed, I started to realize my love for school that I had once had before but had lost the previous year. The things Miss Munchenback did in her classroom were exciting and made me want to be at school and want to learn more. This was a lesson that I had known before her class, but I had forgotten that love during the 5th grade. This love is something that has stuck with me ever since Miss Munchenback's class and is the reason for all my academic success that I have now. If I would not have been put into her class and been introduced into the wonderful feeling of success in the academic world, I cannot say that I would be the person that I am today. Thank you.
What can I say? He's amazing.
Next, I'd like to welcome from Creekview Elementary, Nathan Squire and Ms. Adrienne Martin.
Good afternoon. I'm Adrienne Martin, the principal of Creekview Elementary School, and our scholarship recipient is Nathan Squire. Nathan plans to attend Ohio State University, and he plans to study and become an ophthalmologist, excuse me. He's honoring Sheila Sefton. Sheila was not able to be here today, but he's honoring her.
I'd like to tell you all about Miss Sheila Simpton from Creekview Elementary School and how she has positively influenced my life. When I think back to all the teachers that I've had over the years, I remember many in a positive way, but one teacher always stands out in my memory, and that's Miss Simpton. She taught my class for 5th and 6th grades, and she's one of the kindest and most dynamic teachers I've ever had. Not only did I learn much from her class, but she made it fun to learn as well. She had a good sense of humor and told many funny and interesting stories. She was one of my first science teachers, and I believe that her upbeat manner of teaching has led to science being my strongest and most favorite subject. My interest in science has not faded to this day. Miss Simpton took an interest in me and other students, not only as students but also as people. If I had a problem with anything, I always felt confident that I could talk to her about it and that she'd understand my situation and give me good advice. I always think back on my time at Creekview as being some of the best years of my life. And I believe that this is largely due to the teachers I had there, and in particular Miss Simpton. The memories that you have of a school largely depend on the attitudes of the teachers, and I believe that her positive energy and outlook really helped make those years shine for me. She is a prime example of a teacher who makes a difference in the lives of her students.
Right, next from Wildwood, we are going to hear from Mr. Jim Thomas and Katie Henry, who is honoring Leslie Hicks.
Good evening. I'm Jim Thomas from Wildwood School, and we're honoring Katie Henry tonight. Katie is here with her parents, Tom and Terry Henry. If they could say hi to everyone. And Wildwood is blessed with two of the hardest working PTO people. We're so proud of them, and that's Alan and Joyce Witt. Thank you, Alan and Joyce. Katie's going to attend Miami University, and she's going to major in early childhood education, and she's going to extend her vocal talent and developing that with a choir as a secondary. She's honoring Mrs. Leslie Hicks tonight, and I fully agree with your choice. Good choice.
My elementary school music teacher, Mrs. Leslie Hicks, has been an inspiration to me since the 3rd grade. Growing up, I sang in church choirs and in school, but I did not think I had special musical talents. Then, in the 3rd grade, Mrs. Hicks nominated me for the GATE music program. She taught it, and I was accepted. From the 4th grade through the 6th grade, one day a week, approximately 20 kids throughout the district came together to play and learn music all day long. I found my true love for music in these classes, and Mrs. Hicks was there to lead the way. We would work through problems together, and if I sang the wrong notes or had trouble reading staff paper, she was always there to direct us and guide us in the right way. Now, as a high school senior, I reflect on how Mrs. Hicks has impacted my life. Music is still a huge passion for me. Mrs. Hicks continues to have influence over me as my private vocal music teacher, or voice teacher, I'm sorry. We meet once a week to practice proper breathing and singing techniques, as well as preparing for solo and ensemble. Mrs. Hicks is an amazing person, and I know if I never met her, I would not be the same person I am today. Mrs. Hicks is the reason I've decided to major in education. Her drive, creativity, and love of children beam off of her every day in her classroom. She makes learning music interactive and fun, which is why I admire her dearly. My goal is to one day be as influential of a teacher as Mrs. Hicks has been to me.
Now, I will not be able to do this without tearing up already, as you can see. I feel privileged just to know Katie, let alone to have taught her. And she was doubly stuck with me. Wildwood and GATE music, and between her regular music classes, choir, Orff ensemble, possibly GATE, I think she might have been stuck with me every single day of the week, potentially at certain years. But she is a top-notch person, wonderful human being, and any children who any children who she has the privilege to teach as well, they will actually have the privilege.
And next from Highview Elementary, I'd like to welcome Ms. Joy Stokes, and she will be introducing Hannah Ruth and Mr. David LeMay.
Good evening. Our scholarship recipient from Highview this year is Hannah Ruth. Hannah is going to attend the University of Cincinnati and major in early childhood education. She will also continue her playing of soccer through intramural leagues. Hannah.
I would like to tell you about Mr. David LeMay from Roosevelt Elementary School and how he has positively influenced my life. Mr. LeMay pushed me, and as well as all of his students, to not only work diligently, but to work so hard that they reach the stars and beyond. He specifically pushed me to jump on that rocket ship of success. Mr. LeMay made me want to come to school every day. He pushed me to look forward to learning new things, especially math. I remember each Friday our class would join with another to play a game in which we would have flashcard races. Whoever shouted out the answer first got to take a shot in the trash can basketball hoop with a snazzy rubber ball. That was always fun. This game helped me to learn multiplication and division in an exciting and fun new way. Mr. LeMay's excitement about math influenced me to learn more about the subject. Today, math is my best subject and highest, favorite subject in school. Mr. LeMay forced me to come out of my comfort zone. Once we were given an assignment to write a paper about any famous person of our choice. We had to research and become familiar with this celebrity because we presented this project to the whole class, and we would have to dress up like them. The top 2 papers out of the 5th grade class were chosen to be read in front of the whole school. And my famous person that I picked was Elvis Presley, and surprisingly, I was picked to do it in front of the whole school. Let's see. But because Mr. LeMay pushed me to come out of my comfort zone and show the school what I had done, I am now an outgoing and involved student. Above all, Mr. LeMay pushed me to become a successful student in all subjects. He pushed me to never give up, and I finished that school year as the first student to ever get straight A's in his class. I hope to use what Mr. LeMay has taught me as I go to college and study to become a teacher. Hopefully one day I can push my students to jump on the rocket ship of success.
First of all, I'd like to say I enjoyed having Hannah in class, and just jumping on the point, she was my first and only F- I've ever given a student. And that's how I met her parents. It was a joke because she was doing so well, and every day she asked, "What's my grade? What's my grade?" After she did something, I said, "Well, you got an F- on that." Just totally thinking she would get that. She went home and cried to her parents, and they came back and told me, I'm like, "There's no such thing as an F-." I was just, she's got straight A's. I don't think she would just all of a sudden get an F-. So that was my first and only one. And second, she's going into education, so we know she needs the money. So if you need a good Elvis impersonator, she can jump on board. She danced, she sung in front of the whole Roosevelt staff. And so if you need some extra money or some good talent, some summer work, she's available. So, but in closing, it was great to have her in class. Thank you.
Hannah, on behalf of Highview Elementary's PTO, we want to present you with this scholarship check. Congratulations.
Next, we will hear from Mrs. Marsh from Mayfield, and she will be honoring Josh Biddle and Mrs. Keeneland. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Marla Marsh, principal at Mayfield Elementary. I stand alone, but my buddies are at the table. Our PTO, our president, our vice president, and treasurer are here, Evie Lane, Crystal Parker, and Stephanie Chasteen. It is my honor to recognize Joshua Biddle as a former student of Mayfield Elementary, honoring an awesome educator who has been in the business a long time and still has a passion for it, and that is Pat Keeneland.
I would like to tell you about Mrs. Keeneland from Mayfield Elementary School and how she has positively influenced my life. From the first day of 2nd grade until now, she has been my favorite teacher. Mrs. Keeneland taught the core subjects just like every other teacher, yet at the same time she made learning fun. When learning the state capitals, she always played a cassette tape with songs teaching today's state capitals to us. When she went over with math with us, she gave us great examples to help us understand. She also taught us interaction. Mrs. Keeneland told us funny stories that happened in her life. My favorite story was Super Cat. It was pretty much about how a cat got into a tree and jumped a certain direction so that when she looked out the window, it looked like a cat was flying. In return for her telling us stories, we had stool time. Stool time was a time at the beginning of the day where anybody had the chance to sit on her stool in front of the classroom and share anything on their mind or something they did. I never really got into trouble in Mrs. Keeneland's class, but there was one time I came close. We were told to read this story out of our books called The Legend of the Indian Paintbrush. She went out into the hall to talk to another teacher. All of a sudden, when she came back in the room, the words, "This book is stupid," came from my mouth. That was the only time I ever really got taken out in the hallway to be talked to. At the end of my second grade year, I was so sad that Mrs. Keeneland did not want to move up to the third grade to be my teacher. I now see that since she was a second grade teacher for a while before I had her, and now she is still teaching second graders 10 years later, she belongs there. Although she didn't move on, she promised she would check up on me in the third grade. She kept her promise beyond the third grade. She happens to attend the same church I go to, and we have still kept in contact. We've even had conversations about college. 4 years after I had her, my brother had Mrs. Keeneland, and he brought home some homework. But it wasn't for him, it was for me. There was a paper that said, "Read some pages out of this reading book and summarize the story." Do you know what story it was? The Legend of the Indian Paintbrush.
Wait, I have a present for you too. Thank you. Now I can finally look up to Josh like he looked up to me. And I have a little present for him. You probably can all guess what it is to pack in his suitcase. It is The Legend of the Indian Paintbrush. And it is a very good story. I want you to take it home and read it to your little nephew, okay? Okay, I love you too.
Excellent. One moment, please.
Oh, is that for me?
Well, not quite, dear. I did forget, though. We do have some guests at their table I'd like to recognize. Josh's mother is here, along with his brother, his aunt, his nephew, and Pat's daughter, Carrie, who is a student at Middletown High School, are here as well. And on behalf of the Middletown PTO, I'm sorry, where do we work? Mayfield PTO. We'd like to present this check to you. He is going to attend Miami University. A major is undecided at this time, but we know he'll be very successful. Congratulations.
And now Mr. Michael Lawley will recognize Ashley Sauter and Austin Mooney.
Good evening. I'm Michael Lawley. I'm principal at Miller Ridge Elementary, and we have two recipients this evening. And first, I would like to ask that Ashley Sauter please come up. And Ashley is honoring Christy Minix, who passed away a few years ago, and in her place tonight will be her husband, Tim Minix. Come on up a little bit closer. Before I go on any further, I do want to also acknowledge the fact that Christy's mother, Lynn Wexweiler, is also here this evening, and we appreciate her coming tonight. So at this time, I'd like to let Ashley read her story.
Mrs. Minix's love of teaching made her more than a teacher. She really wanted to make sure her students learned everything possible. Her love and passion for education was shown through her students. Mrs. Minix's specialty was mathematics. She taught fun ways to remember math equations and rules. For example, one of her sayings was for simplifying fractions. Whenever we had problems with fractions, she would sing, "Simplify, simplify, simplify." And it was a fun reminder that fractions need to be taken to their simplest forms. Mrs. Minix also had a comma song. It went 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. I remember a time when handing back papers, the majority of my class forgot to put commas in numbers. So to make sure we never forgot again, Mrs. Minix lined us up in a conga line, and we danced and sang the comma song around the classroom. In my honors chemistry class in high school, I was chosen to go up to the chalkboard to write a number that had 23 zeros. While I was at the board, I caught myself singing Mrs. Minnick's comma song. Another saying I remember from her class involved mean, median, and mode. Each word had a saying. Mean is the average, so the saying was, the mean old teacher who averages your grade. For median, the song was stuck in the middle with you, because the median is the middle number in a list of numbers. Finally, because mode is the number that appears most often in a number list, the mode is the model who gets the most votes. During a quiz in AP Statistics, I was remembering how to do those 3 math techniques by sayings I heard in the 6th grade. Mrs. Minnick was not just a teacher. She was my smiling inspiration.
Where are we? She was my smiling inspiration, my neighbor and my friend. I didn't lose Mrs. Minnick. She is the angel watching over me, sitting on my shoulder, talking to me every day in class, singing in my ear all those songs to help me remember.
Ashley is going to attend Bowling Green State University, and she's going to major in athletic training. She also plans to continue her active lifestyle through intramural sports, including softball, swimming, and volleyball. Ashley, and from the Miller Ridge PTO, I'd like to present you with this scholarship check tonight. Congratulations, and we're proud of you. Thank you. Next, if I may have Austin Mooney and his recipient, Dave Foltz, please come forward. Austin is going to be attending the University of Cincinnati, and he will major in industrial management. He will continue his National Guard service through ROTC, and he does leave for boot camp at the end of May there. Okay. Austin, please come forward.
Hi. I would like to tell you about a teacher, coach, and a great friend, David Foltz. Foltz, as all his runners call him, has made a major impact on my life. I first met him as my physical education teacher at Rosedale Elementary School. Back then, I was known as Austy Malt to Foltz, and now I'm Mooney. He made sure he had a nickname for all of his students, ones we all laughed at, but this is not what made the impact. His impact came later in life when I started running cross country at Vail Middle School. I remember my first race as a 7th grade runner. It was Middletown's home meet at Armco Park. I had been running for only a week. When I finished, Foltz came up to me to tell me what a great run I had just had, considering I had been running for a week. He said he was excited to have me on his team at Middletown. 2 years later, I went on my first run as a high school freshman, and let me tell you, it was awesome. Foltz and I were both ecstatic for the season to begin. As the season progressed and our times improved during the race, our relationship with our coach became one of great friendship. Foltz would run with us from time to time, but he usually laughed when we complained about a workout, just like a true friend. Throughout the remainder of my high school running career, I went to Bible studies at Foltz's house, he ate at our team dinners, and he continued to impact the lives of his athletes. I've been fortunate enough to be one of those athletes, and I am thankful for his time, effort, and great companionship.
Austin, on behalf of the Miller Ridge PTO, we'd like to present you with this scholarship check too. Congratulations. Thank you.
Next, from Rosa Park Elementary, I'd like to welcome Mr. Key Edwards.
Good evening. I'm Key Edwards, principal of Rosa Parks Elementary. Joining me is our PTO president, Angie Conley. Seated at the Rosa Parks table is Bev Howard, vice president, secretary, sergeant of arms, parent, and stepmom to all. Our scholarship recipient is Tiana Scott. Tiana is going to attend the University of Toledo and major in architecture. She also hopes to continue singing in a campus group so that she can continue her hobbies as well as focus on her career aspirations. Tiana?
Okay. Out of all the 13 years I have attended school in my youth, Taft Elementary would definitely have to be my favorite and the one that I will remember the most. Even though I was very young during this time, I was also very influential and in need of a helping hand. For me, that hand came from my second grade teacher, Mrs. Nickerson. Even though I was just a student, she was not just a teacher. She was in my mind at the time a hero, and my definition of a hero is not a big, strong man who dresses in costumes and flies around, but just an ordinary person doing extraordinary things, sacrificing things of their own to help others and make a difference in one other person's life. Miss Nickerson was my hero in my life. Even though I was just a young child, my life was full of disappointments and tribulations at this time. The first day of school in second grade, as my teacher called attendance and stumbled over my irregularly spelled name, she smiled a warm smile over me that instantly let me know this year would be different. Sometime afterwards, Sometime afterwards, she noticed that I wasn't doing well with my schoolwork and that my letter grade was quite low. She held me back from recess one day, asking me what was the problem. As my voice quivered from feeling ashamed of the reason why, I explained to her that my grade was low because of home situations. She gently wiped the tears from my eyes, hugged me tight, and said the exact words, "You are the brightest girl I know, and you can do anything you put your mind to." From that moment, I felt inspired to do better and went on to maintain a 3.8 all the way up through my high school career, also be awarded for outstanding academic achievements and my exceptionally high scores on the OGT test. Miss Nickerson is, in my opinion, nothing short of my hero.
Somewhere in this community, a beautiful couple reside. They were not able to be here this evening, but they, the parents being Mr. and Mrs. Raymond Scott. And I say that because somewhere, somehow, they created a child of beauty. That child came into my classroom. She was eager to learn, had a deep respect for education. She was so loving. She knew how to be respectful, appreciative. She had all the attributes that only a family and community could give her. And so with that, she was friendly. She knew how to play, to be a team member, to be a leader. And most of all, she knew how to be decisive. And if she was playing with a group of children and something was going astray, she could very, very quickly walk away and say, no, no, no. She knew when, she knew how to keep things on the green. Now, we're at the point of being able to say, from this community, from this
Board of Education throughout her Middletown experience. Look out, world. Here comes Tiana, and she wants to be an architect. Yeah, I can imagine her. Imagine the white shirt, the dark suit, the $300 portfolio. Look out, world. Here she comes.
Tiana, on behalf of Rosa Parks Elementary, our PTO, we'd like to present you with this scholarship check. Thank you. Put that back up.
Next, I'd like to welcome Mr. Michael Valenti from Vale Middle School.
Good evening. I have the pleasure to introduce Christopher Edwards and his special guest, Lawrence Turner. Christopher is here tonight with his mother, Jennifer, and also his brother, Bill. So, Christopher.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I would like to tell you about Mr. Turner from Stephen A. Vale Middle School and how he has positively influenced my life. Mr. Turner is a music teacher at Vale Middle School, and every day that I got to school, I always look forward to going to music class. Although there was this one time on the first day of school when Mr. Laspe, our former principal at Vale Middle School, yelled out 2 minutes, which means I know I had to hurry up and get to class. And to make a long story short, before I knew it, the doors had closed. So I knocked on Mr. Turner's door, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Trying to go to class." He said, "Well, you're late." I said, "Well, can you cut me some slack? It's the first day of school." He said, "Come on in." So when I got in there, he gave me this long paper with a whole bunch of music notes on it. I didn't know what to do at all. Like, what is this? But anyway, he is a very polite type of guy that will respect you as long as you give the same type of respect back to him. I grew up at a young age idolizing music, and when I got to 7th and 8th grade, Mr. Turner made my inspiration more complete by teaching me the value of music. Oh yeah, back to that first day, I was so busy looking at the room around with the music notes all on the wall, which I thought was very unique, that I was in my seat when the bell rang. So that day I learned the meaning of the word tardy, which has helped me to be prepared for every class. This helped me recognize the value of class time for both the teachers and the students. And every minute of learning is important and can also be interesting and fun. Mr. Turner has been a very inspirational teacher as well as a basketball coach, which I would not have guessed he would be my freshman and junior coach in high school. We became real close friends in music class, and that led to good times and memories on the court as well as off the court. I'm sure that Mr. Turner has influenced others' lives, but I feel as if he has influenced mine the most because of his leadership and music skills.
First, I'd like to say I'm honored and really extremely humbled that Chris would actually choose me of all the teachers that he's had since kindergarten through his 12th grade, so I appreciate it. Chris is a great young man. I've known Chris probably, I think it started in the 5th grade at McKinley. Actually, it was 5th. 4th? Oh, I'm sorry. You would know best. At McKinley Accelerated. Shout out to Miss Marsh. All right. To him being a senior now at at Middletown High School. He's going to be a great, great young man. And since that tardy story, it's funny, as being his basketball coach, I don't ever remember Chris being late ever at all. He's actually usually one of the first people in practice and usually one of the last ones to leave. He's got a great, great support system. His mother, Jennifer, his brother, Bill, his brother, Robin, his brother, Kelsey, have always been in everything possible. And that's probably extremely why he is the great young man that he is. So, appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.
Chris is going to be attending either Alabama A&M or Wright State University this fall, where he will major in sports psychology or accounting. And he also plans to stay involved in basketball. And on behalf of the Vail PTO, we would like to give you this award.
I think Chris might have made a decision since I wrote that, because you all cheered quite a bit for A&M, so that might be a little late information. Oh, that's your alma mater. Okay, that's it. I knew something was going on. Next, from Verity Middle School, I would like to welcome Dr. Greg Williams. Thank you.
This evening, it's my pleasure to present Dustin Dalton as the Verity PTO Scholarship Award winner. Tonight, Dustin is joined by his parents, Mark and Katie Brooks, and Dustin plans to go to Cedarville University, where he will study pastoral studies and also psychology. He will also compete on the cross-country and track teams, and tonight he is going to honor his fantastic language arts teacher, Joni Sexton. Dustin.
A teacher that has greatly influenced me is my 8th grade English teacher at Verity Middle School, Mrs. Sexton. Mrs. Sexton is one of the greatest teachers that I've ever had. She showed me that in order to be successful at anything, no matter what it is, you have to have a good work ethic and follow directions. She reinforced these two principles frequently in her class. We would always have assignments that would not only help develop our writing skills, but also help develop our ability to think critically and to simply do exactly what the assignment was asking of us. English is my best subject in school, and I contribute my success in this subject to Mrs. Sexton. But this class not only helped my skills in English, it also helped me become an all-around better student. I learned throughout my time in this class what high school would be like. When I got to high school, I was not overwhelmed by all of the homework and papers that I thought would be very challenging. In Ms. Sexton's class, we would always do 3x5 papers, which is a paper that has 3 main parts and 5 paragraphs altogether. She always said that in high school, we would write papers like this all the time, and she was correct when she told me this. I frequently still write 3x5 papers, and I never worry about them because of the early start I had in writing them. If it wasn't for Mrs. Sexton's 8th grade English class, I wouldn't be as motivated as I am in school right now, and would not be the student that I am today. Thank you.
I just want to say how honored I am that Dustin chose me. I agree with Lawrence that, out of all the teachers he's had, I'm shocked that he picked me, because usually I don't think they like me. So, because I am so strict and hard, and, he is a wonderful young man. And the one thing I remember about Dustin is he always had that great smile. He was always ready to work and always focused. And you can see that that has really paid off for him. And I know it's going to pay off for him later on as well. And Dustin, thank you.
Dustin, on behalf of the Verity Middle School PTO, it's my pleasure to present you with the Verity PTO Scholarship. I would also like to honor, and it's fitting that her son received a PTO scholarship from Mayfield. Christy Biddle is a lifetime member of the Verity PTO, and would like to honor her for all of her service to the Verity PTO over the years.
And our last school to be represented this evening is Amanda, and I would like to welcome Dr. Candace Dillon.
Good evening, everyone. This was kind of nice. Usually with Amanda being an A school, we're usually first, so it was kind of nice being the last one for this evening. I'd like to recognize the individuals who are here with me. Of course, we have the recipient of the Amanda PTO Scholarship, and she is Lindsay Sweat. The teacher she is honoring is Mrs. Sharon Myers. Also, we have the president of the Amanda PTO, Mary Cundiff. And at our table, we have our PTO secretary, Julie Williams, and of course, Lindsay's parents, William and Jennifer Morgan. At this time, before I ask Lindsay to come forward, tell you a little bit about Lindsay. She will be attending Anderson University in Indiana, and her major will be in youth ministry. So, Lindsay, this is your moment.
Okay, I'm going to try not to cry, but no promises. Miss Myers is my third grade teacher at Amanda. She was much more than a teacher. Yeah, here we go. She gave me the affection that I was missing at home and pushed me to excel beyond my other classmates and gave me a live example of what passion was. She did much more than teach me how to spell together, to get her. She shaped me into the person that I am today. At 9 years old, my stepdad left, and my mom left me and my mom heartbroken and confused. I remember coming home and seeing my mom crying at our kitchen table because all the things were gone. My world was turned upside down, and I didn't understand why my dad left. I didn't understand why my mom had to get another job. I didn't understand why I was being shifted from house to house and had to be babysitted by complete strangers. But the one thing I did understand is how I got an A+ on my spelling test. I would get a stuffed animal. And at the point in my life, that was the only thing I could count on. Miss Myers was the smile that I needed every day, and she'd always greet me in the morning with a hug. And I knew she cared about me much more than a person as a teacher. Don't start, guys! Miss Myers is the most passionate person I know. She took joy in her job, and everyone who had her as a teacher would know that she woke up in the morning excited to come and teach. Her license plate on her green minivan read, "I love third grade," and I would bet it still does today. She taught me to do what you love, and so far I have. I have a passion for everything that I'm involved in, and I have her to thank for that. I got through it.
I did not want to forget anything because she is such an amazing young lady, and this is my letter to her, and I would like to share it with you. Lindsay, you are an amazing young lady. I admire your involvement in our schools, your commitment to not only your future, but the future to others as well. With the encouragement of your family and the knowledge of the importance of education, you are succeeding in using your time to help others. I'm so proud of your anti-bullying program. I am. You are such an inspiration to all, adults, teens, and children. But I'm not surprised by any of this. You were a wonder as a child, a wondrous, adventurous third grader. You accepted each assignment with enthusiasm. I remember our volcanoes. You were so excited as the class circled around you. You added just the right amount of ingredients, waited just the right amount of time, then poof, the red lava spouted out, poured down the sides, and made a big lake of red liquid. All the faces around you were in awe, but your face, as I watched you, was full of success. The great feeling of the perfect completion to the perfect project. I saw this look on your face many, many times during our year together. You were, and still are, a force of nature. You greet challenges and you make them your own. But this does not stop you from enjoying the excitement of life. In third grade, we studied Hawaii as we read the story, The Three Little Hawaiian Pigs and the Magic Shark. We did. And after all the facts and the research and the reports, we finally held our own luau. The sight of you and Jacob dancing in your hula skirts is still a smile in my heart. And the very next year, she joined our luau again, this time teaching my new group of students how to dance the hula. I laughed and laughed at you as Jacob, and you twirled and swayed in those hula skirts. I still remember it. Even after your years of elementary school were over, I loved the visits that you made back to my room. You always found your way back. And always by your side stood a strong parent, strong woman who inspired her daughter to achieve excellence. I love you. You have touched my life and my heart forever. Thank you.
Oh my. Lindsay, on behalf of the Amanda PTO, we would like to present you with the Amanda Scholarship. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I think that opening your heart and sharing your feelings on paper is one thing, but it takes courage to share those in front of a room full of 100 people, and I admire you all, teachers and students, so very much. Thank you all for coming. I think Mr. Rasmussen might have some closing remarks. Have a good evening.
You know, I've been an educator for over 25 years, and I can honestly tell you that this evening, the last two of these that I've attended have been one of the most special events. This is a special time, not only for the students, but for the teachers and for the parents here. What a wonderful experience, and I want to thank all those of you who are involved with that. One last time, I would like to have all of the students please stand up for one last round of applause. Students, congratulations. Students, thank you for taking a moment to let a teacher or an educator know how much they meant to you. You don't know how much that means to them. It's really special. So thank you. We all know how busy it is to be a senior in high school, and thank you very much. I also now would like the educators that were recognized tonight to please stand up for one last round of applause. Educators. And educators, what a special time to know the influence that you have on children. And we never know when that influence is going to come. And some of you were surprised by the fact that you were written about. And I know you just never know when you're going to touch a life. And finally, with the rock behind these students, the parents. Many of those mentioned the parents as being important. Would the parents of the recognized students please stand up? I had a special teacher too. Her name was Miss Anderson, and she was my third grade teacher. And I entered third grade not having the ability to read very well, and my parents were worried about me. And I'll tell you, Miss Anderson nurtured me, turned it around for me. And when I was probably maybe in college or just after I left college, maybe in my first couple years of teaching, a gentleman named Clark Mendenhoff was elected the National Teacher of the Year. And then President Ronald Reagan recognized him at a national banquet. And President Reagan at that time read a poem to him that I've just carried around with me ever since then, and it reflects on teachers. And I want to read that for you tonight. Teachers, you are the molders of their dreams, the gods who build or crush their young beliefs of right or wrong. You are the spark that sets aflame the poet's hand or lights the fire of some great singer's song. You are the God of the young, the very young. You are the guardians of a million dreams. Your every smile, your frown can heal or pierce a heart. You are 100 lives, 1,000 lives. You are the pride of loving them, the sorrow too. Your patient work, your touch, make you the God of hope that fills their souls with dreams to make those dreams come true. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here with you this evening. The centerpieces in the middle of the tables are for the educators that were recognized tonight, so please take those, and thanks again for coming.
If you'd like to purchase a DVD of this program for $20 plus $5 shipping and handling, call 513-727-3000 or watch online at tvmiddletown.blip.tv.